What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Last week I did a video on my items I feel like every gentleman should own. This also got me thinking that there's a lot of content on the internet about being a gentleman and what that actually means. Most of it is very relevant for today, but a lot of it can be quite antiquated and not really fit into our modern day lives. It's also kind of personal as well. Like, we can all have our ideas on how we want to live our lives and how we want to interact with others and be treated by others as well. So what I thought I'd do is put my thoughts across on the 12 things that I feel make a gentleman for myself. This is only my personal point of view, and I don't really like to push these ideals on other people. It's more, this is my thoughts, this is the way I see the world maybe a little bit, and the things I hold myself to account for. And these aren't things that I have absolutely nailed to a T, because we're all work in progress, we're all learning. I certainly am. But yeah, these are the things that I've thought about and feel that are a good guideline on being a gentleman in the modern day. Before that though, I'd just like to ask if you get anything from the video at all, if you could hit the like and subscribe button. Check out archonwards.com for pre-owned menswear and sign up to the Substack The Guidance, which is just a newsletter I send out with lists of pre-owned items I find during the week, any links to items we discuss in videos as well, and just general ramblings also. Everything will be in the description. Also, a quick fit check. I've got a shirt from APC and Carhartt, the little crossover they did, a belt from Uniqlo, you can see there, and some vintage Levi 619s, and shoes are some Weegians that you can't see. But enough about me, let's get into this list. So the first one is dressing out of a sign of respect for other people. Now, this is probably going to relate to a lot of people that watch my channel, because it's mostly about fashion and style in general. And I feel like the way I like to look at dressing, or the way I justify, you know, investing in clothes and investing the way I look and thinking about it and making YouTube content about clothes, it's showing a sign of respect to other people when I go out. So if I go to a restaurant or a bar or anywhere in kind of public, it's trying to make the most of myself, show that I've made an effort, because it's for other people as well as myself. It is for myself as well, for my own confidence, for just because I like it and I express myself in that kind of way, but it's also to show that I've made an effort for the other people I'm with. So for instance, and this is a big one, because I was out in Edinburgh with my dad last week, and we went to this really beautiful bar, and it was like, you know, if it was in London, it'd be rammed, it'd be just crazy expensive. In Edinburgh, it was actually pretty reasonable, not very busy. But guys were going there with their girlfriends, and the girlfriends were dressed up. They were on a night out. They'd made an effort, makeup, dresses, the whole shebang. And the guys, or some of the guys, were wearing hoodies, t-shirts, like casual gear. And I think that's the key point here. It's showing the respect to the other person that you're with, or other people that are around you in the vicinity, that you care about the surroundings you're in, where you are. And yeah, there are lots of counterpoints to this, where people are like, why do I care what other people think? But we live in a society where I certainly care what other people think about me. And if I go to nice places, or if I go to any sort of place in public, I want to add to the aesthetics of it rather than make it worse. And that's just me. It may be a vain way of thinking, but I like aesthetics. I like things to look nice. If I go to Italy and you go to like a Italian bar, an old village, or a seaside resort, I want to add to that aesthetic. I don't want to stick out and not look dressed for the occasion. But that's just me. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, or if you have any other opinions on that. So number 2 on the list is considering other people's point of view, no matter what the argument, situation, conversation, whatever it is. Trying to put yourself in other people's shoes. This comes a lot for me. I spent just over 12 years as a mediator previously. So you have to be neutral. You have to consider all the different parties, discussions and argument points and everything, and remain neutral, essentially. And I try to do this as much as possible, even when I'm disagreeing with someone. And I think that can be super helpful when either possibly de-escalating an argument or any sort of situation that it might be getting a little bit heated. It also helps to resolve issues as well. So if you see the other person's point of view, you can in your head make sense of what the other people were thinking, and then you can easily work to a resolution to that. There's also that saying, never ascribe malice to what can be attributed to ignorance. But basically that just means when you assume that someone's trying to do you wrong, or they're trying to get away with something, maybe they just aren't aware. So it's really just trying to put yourself in other people's shoes. It gives you a Jedi level of understanding when it comes to arguments, and being able to de-escalate things as well. The third one is super simple, but it's still probably not as practiced as much as people think. So, and that's just when you introduce someone, look them in the eye, shake the hand, and lastly, smile a little bit. Now, the last bit of smiling is probably the thing that people miss out the most, and that just is a nice way to introduce yourself to someone. It shows confidence. A lot of people don't do that because they do feel a little bit unsure or not confident in the situation. A firm handshake, of course. I mean, this all sounds quite cliche, but I think like it's still really important today. A little tack onto that is if you're briefly meeting someone and they're saying hello to you, they're the one to instigate that introduction. Ask them something about themselves. Like if you don't know them, ask them their name. There was actually a situation on the train a little while ago. I don't get recognised out in public at all. I haven't got that many subscribers. But there was one guy who said hello to me, and I was going off the train at the time, and I just was a bit flustered, and I was like, hi, and then walked off the train. And in my head afterwards, I was like, that was a really not a great way to put yourself forward. Like, I would have just thought, at least ask the guy his name. But I was leaving the train at the time. I didn't want to hold people up. It wasn't great, but those sort of things are things that it's like, if you think about it, it almost becomes second nature to you. Again, it's something I have to work on, and even the handshake and saying hello to people, it's something you have to actively do, and it's to be sort of purposeful with it as well. The fourth thing is something I really have to work on, especially when I've had a drink, and that's not waiting to speak in a conversation. So when you're chatting to someone, you've got a thought in your head that you want to say, and you can't wait to say it. The other person's just speaking and speaking and speaking, and you're not considering what they're saying. That's not great. And yeah, especially when I've had a drink, I know that I can sometimes think that, and especially when I'm talking about like football or something, and something pops in my head and I can't wait to share the probably terrible opinion. But it's something that a lot of people do, is you're just going back and forward in your head, you're thinking about what you're saying. Sometimes it could be about not being confident about what you're going to say, and you're in your own head. But yeah, just listening to the other person can really negate the whole of that, and then reacting to whatever they say. Natural conversation. It sounds very simple, but you'd be surprised how many people just wait to speak rather than have a flowing conversation. Right, number 5 is try to see humour in everything, even some of the biggest disasters. I feel like Brits are very good at this. We have that kind of gallows humour. We're a little bit sarcastic. And I like to try to do that no matter what. Even if someone passes, or if I lost something that's really important to me, you have to kind of try to look at it from an outsider perspective, from the picture of, this is going to pass, whatever's happened. In the grand scheme of things, we're all going to die one day, and why not just laugh about it? And I think that's kind of something I try to do as much as possible. Obviously, it's not easy to do, especially when something really bad happens immediately. But if you can look at it through a slight lens of humour and speak to other people about it with a bit of humour, it really helps getting over the situation and just getting through it at the end of the day. Because dwelling on something, really catastrophizing, is never a good thing. I also love being self-deprecating with my humour, trying to break that ego down in myself, that I can laugh at myself about anything. I think that's super important as well. So the next one is about taking rules as guidance. This is so important when it comes to menswear, I feel anyway, especially when you're working in a world of classic menswear with suits and tailoring and Savile Row. For me personally, who also likes the casual side of things and other ways of dressing, other ways I don't even dress, it's important to know these old rules because they were there for a reason. They either have a practical reason behind them or they have a story behind them. And I think they're all great to know, but they're only guidance. Otherwise, we stagnate and we stay in the same place as we were before. Right, tip number 7 is continuing to learn and be autodidactic. Now, this, for me, is super important. When I left school at 16, I really didn't know what I wanted to do myself. I felt like the only thing I could do was I went straight into hairdressing, actually, and that was the only thing I could do that was slightly creative and could make money from. And I didn't really feel that I could do much else. I tried to get office jobs, couldn't really get them because they weren't on my CV, and I didn't really know what to do. But luckily, there's so much on YouTube, there's other courses out there that you can learn so much. So the next thing I learned was how to use a camera. Then it was about menswear and how to style. Then I also did a psychotherapy course and other courses along the way that led me to where I am today. How to use this camera, how to use some lighting, even if it's not great, and editing videos, things like that. All stuff that, okay, maybe you won't master, maybe you won't do it as a job, but it's super helpful. There's also the other side of things. It's learning things like wine lists as much as you can, dinner etiquette, things like that, and dress codes we spoke about before, just guidance, not rules. But all these things are really important to learn yourself and create a more rounded person as a whole. It really helps as well with conversations. If you're on a date or you're at a dinner party, you can speak about things from experience and knowledge rather than just listening to other people, and then you can have your own stories, and it really helps your confidence just to put your personality out there as well. So number 8 is not forcing your opinions, your tastes and your ideologies on other people, and not judging other people for theirs as well. So now there's a fine line with this. Obviously, we're talking about things that we like. I'm expressing to you the things I like in my videos in terms of fashion and menswear. But again, this is just my opinions. There is no right and wrong with this. And if you have a different opinion to mine, that's great. I think that's what makes the world a beautiful place. But there has been times in my life where I've got really into something and I've been really confident about something and maybe come across a little bit cocky and maybe like I know the right answer or the way I'm thinking is the right way. And that's not the best way to be, in my opinion. I think listening to other people's point of views, understand them, debating, discussing, all great things, and expressing yours as well. But trying to make other people dress the way you dress or like the same music you like is kind of boring, I'd say. So yeah, there's so many different ways to do everything, so that you should be open to it all and not be closed-minded, because one day your taste might turn as well, because that's certainly happened to me, and it certainly happens to me with clothing, that a lot of my tastes will change over time. There's no way you get me to tuck in a casual shirt a few years back, but now I do all the time. So it's one of those things, just being open to other people's opinions and not forcing yours on other people as well. Number 9, simple but crucial, looking after yourself physically and mentally. Now, I've spoken in the past about my mental health struggles. The world is a much better place than it used to be in terms of being open about things like that, and especially with men as well, being able to speak about things openly and publicly. And it's important that you look after yourself. I think physically and mentally, they go together exactly the same. Whenever I let myself go a little bit, or I don't look after myself physically, my mental health slides. And then if I look after myself physically, it improves massively. And in terms of the mental health side of things, if I'm feeling good and I'm feeling confident and I'm feeling like I'm looking after myself mentally and not too stressed, I will have the energy to go out and run. I will feel like I can go out and not eat trashy foods or drink too much. So it's a real balance, and it's something you really have to focus on, and make sure you take that time for yourself, even if you have to say no to other people, because ultimately you can only help other people or be the best version of yourself for other people by looking after yourself. And that actually brings me on to number 10, and that's having goals and ambitions, and also interests as well. No matter what they are, having that purpose in your life and that goal to focus on, or that thing to take your mind away from work and maybe the negative stuff that's going into your life, and to just dive in and focus and enjoy, is so important. There's that brilliant book, Man's Search for Meaning, by Viktor Frankl, which I recommend everyone to read. It's a very small book. It's a psychiatrist who's a Holocaust survivor, and he writes half the book as a sort of diary about how he survived, having a purpose to see his family again, and the second half about his theory on the whole thing. And it really puts in focus why having goals is so important. Now, for interests as well, like hobbies or just even things, little things, like I love football. It can seem so stupid. 22 men run around a pitch and it can ruin my mood for a week. I have no input into it at all, but I love it, and I can dive into the history of it and watching old videos on YouTube, talking to my friends about it. And to me, sometimes it can be escape from just working or things I'm stressed about. I can just lose myself in that. And there's that famous saying that's been attributed to everyone from Carlo Ancelotti to Pope John Paul II, that out of all the unimportant things, football is the most important. And that goes for anything you enjoy. You've got to have these little things to throw yourself and your passions into, no matter what it is, and it helps you to have discussions that you can talk to people, build communities around, and just get away from some of the stresses of life. So number 11 is a really important one for me, because it's something that it took me a long time to get my head around, because of the way I grew up, and then because of this sort of concept of not showing any vulnerability. Saying sorry didn't come naturally to me, and that is, for me, really important. For a long time in my life, I felt like if I'd done something wrong, no matter if it was purposeful or not, that I couldn't say sorry, because that showed an element of weakness. And that is the weakest thing, in my opinion. I felt like I always took responsibility for things my own way. I was never just doing things, getting away with it and hiding it. It was just when I felt like I should come forward to someone and say sorry, or say that I was wrong in that situation, or I acted the wrong way. That really didn't come naturally to me. So that's something I've learned recently, and maybe actually now I go a little bit over the top. But I think it's much better to be that way than the other way, where you're just hiding it. So saying sorry, being humble with things, is a great way to grow yourself and self-analyze and learn. So number 12 is a classic, but it's treating others with respect, especially those that maybe in a social situation are like serving you, waiters and people in shops. And anyone in that situation, showing them respect, taking that previous step we spoke about, putting yourself in their shoes. So if you do feel like maybe they've been a bit rude, or they haven't paid you enough attention, they might maybe having a bad day, or maybe they just didn't see you, or maybe they just made a mistake. And it is one of the biggest things that people pick up on a date. If you treat the waiter or waitress like crap, you're not going to get a second date. Right, so we have a bonus one for you because I just thought of it and it's a big one for me. So you go to a bar or a pub and you go to be served and the staff don't see the people that may be there before you and they turn to serve you. Please just say they were there first and let them order first. No matter who they are, man, woman, child, maybe not child if they're trying to get served alcohol, but whoever they are, let the people that are there before you get served. Honestly, when you jump the queue, the daggers you get from other people, is it really worth it just to save a bit of time? Whereas if you let the other person go first, you both give each other a nod and there's a kinship between you both. There's a beautiful friendship that's struck. Maybe there's never a word spoken, but it's a great thing. And maybe this is because I'm British and we love to queue, we like order, but for me, this is near the top of the list we've just done. But anyway, guys, that was my list of 12 ways to be a modern gentleman. And again, this is just my opinion. These are just my sort of thoughts. I'd love to know in the comments below if you have anything to add, anything personal to yourself, anything you thought of, please drop in the comments. Remember to check out archeringwoods.com and sign up to the Substack, the guidance. Everything's going to be in the description. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.